Welcome to episode 13, and today I actually want to cover a very specific topic on the niche or the audience. And the reason why is that it kind of indirectly came to me, kind of in a way. I was watching a stand up comedy by Louis C.K., and somewhere in the middle of it, I was thinking, well, would I be able to do that? And I meant it in a way that would I be able to do that if I started like right away from my birth, and like now that I'm at this age, would I be able to accomplish like those kind of like levels of like greatness and fame and following and things like that? And really, what I think is that it wouldn't be possible. Even though, let's say, the content is like amazing, the jokes, everything is just like outstanding, excellent performance, super funny, super engaging, there is still a social element that remains missing. And I think this social element is very, very important. And what I mean by that actually is there is some kind of category that people have in their mind, like a category of people, like a stereotype, like some certain criterias you have to match or you have to have them to fall into like a category or like a group of people where it becomes like accepted or normal, or this is something that you expect. We're gonna dive into this a bit deeper, but I think this is really, really big part of it. So if you actually take a look at all of the like biggest comedians, I have a list of them here. For example, Dave Chappelle, Bill Burr, Kevin Hart, George Carlin, Richard Pryor, Louis C.K., Chris Rock, Eddie Murphy, even Joe Rogan. He also does stand-up comedy. Ricky Gervais. These guys, these men, they're very, very similar if you look at facts. Like, they're men and they are like over 40, like in their like late 40s, late 50s, or even late 60s. So there is definitely like, it's definitely a group, there is definitely some kind of like match there. Because there is no guy that is like 20 years old that is like biggest, best comedian and has like a huge following. That just doesn't exist. Why? Is it because there is no funny comedians that are young? I think there is. I think there's a lot, but they don't have like such a big of a following. They cannot become like so popular. And as I said before, I think it comes from these like expectations of what a comedian should look like, or what. It's kind of stupid to say that a comedian should look like something or like someone. In comedy, it's not about the looks at all. It's more about the like experience, delivery, jokes, and all of that. And in here, what we're seeing is that most of these men, they probably had like a very like rough upbringing or some like crazy life experiences that they're like bringing through the comedy. So they're able to do that. The question is like, are they funny because they had that kind of life, or it's just like hardcore work and things like that? I actually don't know. I don't want to like focus on those things, but I still think there is like a big factor that remains, is that if you would say to someone, I discovered a new awesome comedian, I think I would have like a certain idea, like an expectation. It would be a man roughly in his like 40s, 50s. I would just kind of imagine that by default. And I think this like applies to many different categories, many different industries, even like YouTube, podcasting, even like regular work. Actually, if you think about it, for example, would you ever work with a banker or get like a consultation in a bank if a worker looks like a 15-year-old boy or a 15-year-old girl? Like, it would be a shock, even if they're like amazing, excellent, like super experienced worker, like they know everything, all the details, like they have the best analytics, like an incredibly talented person. If you walk into that room and you see a banker that looks like a 15-year-old guy, you would instantly like have doubt, like unsure. You would be like, I don't trust this looks weird, Am I on like a prank channel on YouTube? Like, what's going on here? And those are the factors that are very like hidden. They're not really like explained. There's like, I don't see anyone really like talking about this kind of stuff. So you kind of have to get it by default. Like, you just kind of have to understand it without anyone really explaining that. And I think this is why this is very, very important, because it remains kind of like a small hidden nuance. Not a lot of people are aware of this, and quite frankly, like, I wasn't even aware of that, because I would kind of think that I could do anything in any industry at any age at any moment. I just need to be good enough. But I think it's not exactly the case. You definitely have to be like really good, smart, like all of that has to be in place. But also there's this small little like social aspect when it comes to your looks, your age, how you are, and things like that. And to bring more examples, I thought about this. I think this is actually like a real problem that exists in the world. Let's say your car breaks down, you go to a mechanic, and a woman in like a mechanic's suit walks out, and she's like, what's up with your car? How can we help? Let me like write down the list, and like, we'll work on it. I think like most of people would be a bit like, for half a second, they would be like, oh, I didn't expect this. And then you have to work through that, and then you're like, oh yeah, like, oh, it doesn't matter, right? Like really what I care about is that you do a good job for my car, and then I'm happy. Like, that's the only thing that really matters. But if you go to the mechanic shop and you have the expectation of like a guy in his like mid-30s with like dirty hands and like, long hair and like a beard and all of that, and then a girl walks out, let's say with like a cute face and like, like clean hair and all of that, you like, it just doesn't match with your expectation, which creates roadblocks, which creates small problems that make things difficult for that person, for like a mechanic girl in this case. Like, for them it becomes more and more difficult. And I actually have read some stories. There's like a bunch of that stuff that is being shared on Reddit, for example, people that are dealing with these situations, like a girl who's a mechanic. It is really like a crazy, like, it's a really difficult situation, because they can be like one of the best in their industry, but because the main clients that are coming in there, they have like a wrong expectation, there is instant like mistrust, doubt, some kind of jokes, some kind of pressure, and it just ruins everything for like a girl that is working there. And yeah, as I said, I read some of them, and it's really crazy, because like they share how it's annoying. Like, it starts very small, because some clients would come in and they say, oh, like, I didn't expect to see a girl here, but anyway, like, here's my car, like, if something happened, like, can you fix that? Okay, cool. And it's not a big deal. It's just like a one little comment, like, oh, I did not expect to see a girl here, or like this is like not something that I would like imagine coming into the shop, but doesn't matter. So there's that tiny little comment, but the problem is that it comes from many different clients in a day, and if you work for like months, that's a lot of those like little comments that are being added up, and it creates that pressure and tension. And this in a way kind of is, you can say, something like social bullying or something like that. Not like intentional, but I can definitely say like a person that will receive these kind of comments, especially if they cannot like take them with like ease or like a sense of humor, it will create just an experience of being bullied and like pressure, and it's not very nice. Like, it's just how people are. Like, it's really like how these social things happen. And I really very clearly, I can remember there was actually like a story, I read it like super recently, same case, a guy that works as a mechanic, but the guy is like, he looks very, very, very young, and he, I think, is in his like early 20s or mid 20s, but as he described, he looks basically like barely as like a teenager. And the problem is he has to deal with clients, so he kind of like meets new clients, talks with them, like accepts the car and all of that. And the crazy part is that he's he's completely fine, he's really good at his job, but every time, almost every single client says something like, oh, are you like old enough to work here? And they say it as a joke, like like he even explains that, like he understands it's a joke, it's completely fine, like it's all good, he's not like hurt by that. But over time it just builds up, it creates this like a little bit of tension, and he knows like tomorrow he'll go to the same job and the same scenario will keep happening, like people will keep saying that like same comment, like making it a bit awkward, and at some point he doesn't even know how to respond. His main post was about that, like he's like, I don't know how to respond anymore, and this becomes a pain because it like he is just not a match of expectation, he's not in the category of mechanics that people expect to meet there, to like see there. And I think back to the point of like finding your niche, finding your industry, finding your like group of like followers, I think this is a huge part of, I guess, the formula or of success. And I think, well, taking this idea of where like you want to be in the category of, let's say, leaders or people who are successful already in that industry, you want to put yourself there because everything is kind of proven there. Socially, you are accepted to be a follower. So for example, if you are a guy in like his mid-40s roughly, right, that's where comedians are at. There's a problem there that you need experience, and like that takes years, so it's not very accurate. But for example, if we take like another thing, let's say a guy that is like in his like early 20s, let's say 21, 22, and he's like very, very, very good looking, and he can sing like amazingly. If he sings about like romantic songs and like relationships, love, and things like that, typically like teenage girls go crazy about this kind of singer or performer because that is just the perfect ideal match. Like it's something that young girls dream about. Feelings, emotions, romantic stuff, like even like hurtness from like love and all of that. And here is a guy that is beautiful and he delivers all of that. Like it is a perfect match. It's exactly like it works perfectly. And like exactly this example is a real thing. Like it's kind of even like a well-known type of thing. Almost like every 5 years there's a new singer that looks like very like handsome or very beautiful male singer, and he sings about like love and breakups and all of that stuff. And it is like almost every time very, very successful because there is a new generation of new teenage girls like every 5 years roughly that kind of like slowly like I can say like a little bit are changing or shifting in their culture. So you can say like every 5 years roughly it's a new category of like followers basically. So that's a real case that is like happening, that's what's going on. So let's say for this guy as a like young singer, if he wanted to, let's say, attract, or he wanted his followers to be not young teenage girls because he doesn't want to sing about love, but he wants like 40-year-old men who are interested in finances to follow him, that becomes a problem very fast because you need to like kind of see like, is there a singer that is singing about finances? It makes no sense kind of, but follow me here for a bit. Like someone who sings about finances and who a lot of men that are around like 40 years of age really like following him, and it's like a big following, it's like a big industry. Is there anything like that? If not, then most likely that kind of just does not exist, or it will be like incredibly hard to make, because then you just create a lot of these like roadblocks for yourself. It's just the audience is not exactly aligned or even like open, or they don't even maybe want to look into like direction that what you're presenting basically to them. So that is a really, really tricky part. And let's say if in this guy's case, right? Someone who's really young, and he's like, no, I want men who are exactly in their like 40s, 50s, who are like wealthy. They are interested in like finances and all of that, and they also like, you know, they should basically listen to my music. Like, that is either impossible to make, or it's gonna be very, very, very limited in terms of like how big you're gonna grow. You might get like, let's say you work super hard, you have amazing like quality music and things you're delivering. It can be like, again, any niche. So in this case it's music, but it can be like comedy, jokes, books, movies, like a YouTube channel, like anything really. God damn it, I've kind of lost my thoughts here. Yes, so it has to be like really, really high quality, the thing that you're delivering, but your ceiling of success is going to be very limited because you're just not the type, like you're not in the category that already exists in people's minds. And then the next thing comes is, should you actually do that? Like, you know, like there is this clear niche for teenage girls, a handsome guy that wants to sing, and let's say he does that. Should you go into that, or should you still like try to push yourself to discover something new and like maybe be the unique one in like a totally like entirely different industry? The answer is, and I don't have like a precise answer. I'm not a famous singer guy that sings for teenage girls. I don't even know how to sing, or I sing really badly. But the thing is, I think there is a chance to do that, and that gives you extreme advantage if you make it. So the point is, there's kind of like two ways. One way, if you go to the niche that already exists, where you match with like influencers that are in that niche already, like they look like you, they are your age, you're very, very similar. So you can do the same thing that they're already doing. You just need to do it better, faster, smarter, sharper, more efficiently, like, but like the main kind of direction is already laid out for you. The market is proven. So that's one way, and I think that's a very like kind of guaranteed or a stable way to do things. And I think overall, if you're choosing a niche, and I'm really even like saying this for myself, this idea has to be kind of the foundation. Like, it's a very smart way to look at everything when it comes to niches and audiences from exactly this perspective. And then there's the second way, the second path that you can take. It is exactly when you decide to become, let's say, a female mechanic and go into the shop and do like that on purpose to break the patterns, to break the narrative, break the expectations and all that. And immediately you will be dealing with pressure, problems, difficulties, doubt from clients, even like fear from clients, because in a case where, let's say, someone walks in and they see that, oh, like I did not expect to see that, the next thing that comes in their mind is like, well, I kind of now doubt, can they even like do a good service, because I like it's completely irrational, by the way, but this is really how people's brains are working. If you expect a guy to do this job and you see like someone else doing this job, you, because it doesn't match, now you have doubt, because it just does not connect with your brain, so it creates doubt and mistrust, and it creates problems for the mechanic that decided to do this kind of job. So if you can push through those things, that's the crazy part, is if you can deal and fight all those problems, fight and break all those stereotypes and narratives, and win, like effectively win through all of those like mini battles, that's where you can become the unique one in the industry. And that's where you can actually set a new standard and become, basically you're kind of unlocking a new direction. And there's going to be a lot of people jumping on that because they'll see that you just basically created something entirely, at least like a new market that you unlocked for everyone. So people copy, and you can expect then people copying you like in the end. But as I said, this is definitely a lot like problematic, and but there is like a big reward. And I also think, I don't know, I can't explain this like fully, but I think it really depends on the niche, the industry, the type of service, and things like that. Because I just believe in some cases, if you're trying to break the patterns and just do something like out of this world, it just will never be accepted, just because like it's so extreme, or so like out of it. An example for that would be the banker that looks like a 15-year-old boy. Like it's kind of too much, too like far from what people would, I guess, be at ease, or like something that they would trust. And there's also a risk here, right? So there's a big difference. If someone follows like a YouTube channel, it just takes like a click of a button, versus someone who thinks about investing, or working with the bank, with the finances, things like that. So there's that huge difference there. Same case you can say with like someone repairing your car. If it's like a luxury, crazy expensive car, and you kind of doubt the mechanic, you're like, like you go through those risks. Like, what if they are not gonna do a good job? What if they don't have experience? What if the problems, the potential problems, the problems that can come out of the initial problems? That's where people can withdraw and be like, no, actually, like, not worth it. So that's a very, very tricky, like extremely tricky part with like choosing the niche and audience. And again, really, I'll bring an example for myself. I was like briefly looking around and seeing that realistically, the guys that look like me, and this is the only thing that matters. Like, it's not about the some specific like details, the like skin color, or actually even skin color can be a factor, although even that is like really like a questionable big thing. But overall, the age and just kind of like the overall kind of looks, you can say, like majority of them are actually just playing video games and streaming, and or doing some like pranks and these kind of like funny, very light kind of entertainment type of videos. And that's where the market exists, because people who follow them are younger or around the same age, and they are there for the entertainment, the fun, and things like that. It makes a lot of sense. Like it's a very, very clear, direct kind of like path. It really makes a ton of sense. So if I want to talk about finances, for example, probably not exactly what somebody would expect to see when they're searching for like financial advices and investing and things like that. So I'm trying to be aware of that, and at the same time, and this is probably going to bring me to like the next major like big second point, is that you also want to really test and in practice see who you can attract or who really like follows you. And this is one of the advice I kind of saw basically like all over the place, or like a lot of people are saying that, is you want to like put yourself out there, put your information out there, put your content out there, and see who you can attract, what type of person follows you, what kind of like group of people, category of people follows you, and try to understand why they're following you. Do they see like that you're an expert? Do they like you because of like how you look, just just the physical like appearance stuff? Is it from the like sense of humor, the way this, like exactly those small nuances? And I guess that unlocks a lot more, or that makes the whole picture a lot more clear in terms of what's your audience, or who you can attract, or who is the right person kind of to work with. So I think these two are like really major points when it comes to really choosing any kind of niche. And it's very interesting because I'm really kind of like at the start of this whole thing with YouTube, and I'm really like questioning myself, what do I want to do? And this also can be a reality, because in some cases let's say if I want to do like very serious videos about like psychology or something like that, and I see that in that niche there is no person who is like an amazing influencer or a leader or one of the leaders in the industry who you would say looks like me or somewhat similar to me. If there's none of that, well, yeah, it can mean two things. Either it's going to be very difficult, and then the ceiling of success really goes down, or you'll have to like reinvent that, or maybe like create it, and you're going to be the first one, the first leader in the industry. Like maybe you will unlock the new market. So the point is, you just gotta try and try and try, and then eventually you'll like get somewhere, like you'll have like a realistic idea. And also I want to add one more thing about this, like ceiling success, ceiling of success. Yeah, that, for example, let's bring this guy that is like 21 years old, very handsome, sings for like teenage girls. And let's say there is another guy that also is 21 and he can sing even better, but he's not good looking. He's not the type of a prince that these girls would like kind of romanticize about. He's not, let's say, tall. Let's say he's very short, very chubby, very funny looking, like without the neck, very like puffy cheeks and bald or something like that. I hope this probably like described half of the population of the entire world, but let's say not precisely the image of a prince. So he can still decide, you know what, like I still want to compete for these teenage girls to be my followers because I can sing better, because my content is better, and I can just be like more expressive. I can write better songs, I can write them more often, and I'll like love my audience more, and I'll take care of them better, and like all that stuff. And this is what I believe, this is going to be the difference between the first guy that is handsome, him having like 30 million active followers, subscribers that are like running after him and chasing him, versus this guy that will have like 30,000 followers. If he grinds, works, promotes, really tries, really like pushes himself to like get somewhere, maybe like 300,000 followers, but it's not gonna be nowhere like near close to the first guy, who is like exactly the type of like what people want to see, or like they want to expect, or something like that. So this is this is a tricky part. As I said, this is I think it's very interesting, even just from the social aspect, because a lot of people don't, I think they don't notice that. And I am just, the more I kind of think about it, or the more of these small things I see, like the more it makes sense how social aspect is just the brutally most important one in our lives, and somehow there is like practically zero information about it. Like there is like very little discoveries or even like studies around the social aspect of our lives. So yeah, that's an interesting thing. And I think this is where I'm gonna end. I think I covered the main aspects of it. Let me think. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it. So that's all I have for today, and thank you for watching.